Okay, so again, we're talking about properties of operations today. The top left-hand one is the commutative property. We talked about switching your order. So the commutative property of addition would be something like 1 plus 3 equals 3 plus 1. Either way, you get the same answer. 4 equals 4. The next one is the commutative property of multiplication, which means 2 times 3 is the same as saying 3 times 2. You still get the same answer. This works for adding and multiplying. Then the top right-hand corner, we're talking about the associative property. That is when you change your grouping symbols or like your parentheses. So for the associative property of addition right here, if you notice it goes 1, 2, 3 equals 1, 2, 3, but they change the order of what's being grouped. So 1 plus 2 in parentheses plus 3, and then 1 plus 2 plus 3 in parentheses. Either way, you're going to get 6 as your answer on both sides. Now, the second one here is the associative property of multiplication. So 1 times 2 is 2, times the 3 is going to give us 6. On this side, if we do parentheses first, 2 times 3 is 6, times the 1 is still 6. So either way, you're going to get 6 as your answer there. The additive identity property is basically we want to try to keep the number the same. So if we start with a 3 and you add 0, you're going to get 3. If you have the multiplicative identity property, that's again you want to keep the number the same, but what do you multiply 3 by to get 3? It is a 1. And then the last one we talked about was the property or multiplicative property of 0. Any number times 0 will give you 0 as your answer. So the 3 practice problems that we did. For number 1, it says 3m times 0 times 5m equals 0. What property is that whatever you multiply by 0 by, you'll get 0 as your answer? What you have? Yep.
The multiplicative property of 0?
Yep, the multiplicative property of 0. Okay. The next one, number 2, it says 7c plus 0 gives you, again, 7c. What property is that one?
The additive identity of 0?
Yep, the additive identity. So with identity, you want to get back what you started with. So if we started with 7c, we're ending with 7c, and it's the additive one because you're adding the numbers. The last one, it says state whether the following conjuncture, the statement, is true or false. If false, provide a counterexample. It says subtraction of whole numbers is associative, meaning you can group them differently and you still get the same answer. So if I were to use something like, let's determine if this would work, 8 minus 5 minus 3, and we'll put the parentheses here, and then this will possibly equal 8 minus 5 in parentheses minus 3. So let's go ahead and solve it. If this answers, if the two numbers answer to be the same, we would say this conjuncture is true. If the two answers are different, then we'd say the conjuncture is false. So 5 minus 3 is 2, that we had in parentheses. 8 minus the 2 gives me a 6. So if we get a 6 over here, then we would say this conjuncture is true. So let's go ahead and solve the rest of the way. So 8 minus 5 in parentheses first is 3, and then 3 minus 3 is 0. So would we say that 6 is equal to 0? Yes or no?
No.
No. So then we're going to go ahead and put that cancel through, and then you would also want to say false. So your answer would be false along with this work to show or prove to me. This would be your counter example.